Hello and welcome to the latest from Hearts Standard. My name is Joel Sked and I'm riding solo for this show. If you could hear Craig's voice, you will understand why. Therefore, if it just been me, I just thought I'd do a pre-recorded one and it will just act as a bit of a roundup of the latest transfer and squad news that's happened over the last 3 or 4 days. It's been relatively busy, so plenty to chat about. But we'll have a couple of guest appearances coming up later in the week for different shows. Hopefully be joined by Tom Irving to look at Claudio Braga. More on him later. And hopefully got it penciled in with Mark Donaldson and Scott McIntosh of Scarfs Around the Funnel fame for a look at the best and potentially the worst Hearts 11 of the quarter century. Now, I know the guys they put together their best 11 from the administration season, but for the quarter century one, I shamelessly pilfered this from the Athletic, and it's just good pre-season content, hopefully. So yeah, they'll be coming up later in the week, hopefully. But before we get into today's show, Hearts Standard is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Edinburgh and the surrounding area, you will find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. So, where do we start? Well, we'll go back to Sunday when you spoke that the club are pursuing the signing of Claudio Braga, a 25-year-old Portuguese forward who's been playing for the last few seasons in the Norwegian second tier of the season. In the third tier, he got helped his former club get promoted. We'll have a lowdown on the Portuguese forward later on in the week in terms of on the site. Tom's written something already. I'm just going to just wait for a couple of days before I put it up on the site, and also get Tom on to chat about him. So won't stay too long on Braga and looking at kind of what he brings, but he's been viewed as a top target and has already visited Edinburgh. It's a move from Ailsund, and if I butchered that pronunciation, no doubt, but it could be completed in the next week, hopefully by the end of this week, but we'll see what that brings. As always, transfer stuff is never straightforward. Now, he is versatile, can play different roles. Like I said, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of what he the profile of player is like, what we can expect to see from him, where he'll fit in, etc., etc. But I think kind of what I would like to stick on is it's good that the club seem to be keen to add different types of forwards, whether it's different types of wingers, different types of strikers. I think we've seen from the last couple of seasons the importance of needing these different types of strikers and getting goals around the team. 2 seasons like this, so you look at not last season, but the 2 seasons previously, very much Lawrence Shankland orientated, and then that came back to bite the team last season where he didn't have his best goal scoring season and no one else really kind of stepped up and got near double for Cabangu. There was a couple of guys who threatened it, Cabangu probably most likely, but it's important that over the course of the season that you have different routes to go, and I think you see it with some of the wingers the Hearts have targeted, i.e. Islam Chesnokov, and signed Alexander Kazaridis. These are 2 guys who can score goals from wide areas, and then if you've got your strikers who are able to also get into or close to double figures and sharing those goals around, you're not relying on one forward. And as we've seen, Lawrence Shankland's future is still up in there. It should hopefully become clearer in the coming days. I think both himself and Hearts will be wanting it sorted in advance of any pre-season. When some of the press guys, when we spoke to Shankland, I think it was after the second last game of the season, which was, of my memories terrible, St Johnstone, I think it was. He talked about, when asked about a timeline, he talked about wanting to have it sorted or wanting to know where he's going for pre-season. Hearts pre-season starts on June 20th, so I would hope that begins. There's been a lot of speculation, but I hope that gets sorted or there's more clarity on that in the coming days. Ideally, Lawrence Shankland's state of Hearts, allows it takes a lot of pressure off having to add a lot of goals to the final third. If he stays, got a proven Scottish Premiership striker in there, but we'll see what that brings. With Braga, he's a versatile forward, play different roles, hold the ball up, good runner, can finish off both feet, strong in the air as well. So he comes with a fair bit of promise, and having heard a wee bit about him, having read a wee bit about him, he seems to have a really good character and he's really ambitious as well. And straight away, kind of type of personality you want to add into the squad dynamic. But if Braga is going to be signing number 5, Stuart Findlay could be the 6th edition. He's one of those players who I think we're only likely to be, not only likely to be, but it was more fitting more with probably the profile that McInnes wants in his team, rather than maybe, for example, Neil Critchley before him. The McInnes likes a quick centre back, and I've been writing something up today on Stuart Findlay and why Hearts and why McInnes will be wanting to sign him. And McInnes has had him for the last 2 seasons of Kilmarnock. He's been, over the last 2 seasons, Kilmarnock's best player. He kind of consistently best player. It's quite telling that Kilmarnock really struggled last season with him missing a fair chunk of the season. He's had a serious ankle injury. Now, I know people will be thinking, is he injury prone? It's the first time he has missed. It's only the second time in his career, considering he's 29, he's missed more than 10 games due to one injury. So, I mean, it was a bad injury, but it wasn't like a recurring issue. But I think there's a few quotes from McInnes over the years which are notable, some very recent, some in the past, but going back to something that Craig wrote on the evolution of McInnes and just looking at his the tactical side. When he went in at St Johnstone, he said, I knew exactly what I wanted from it. He's talking about his time at St Johnstone, looking back. He said, I knew exactly what I wanted for my team. I wanted more pace at the back. I wanted us to be able to play a high line. I wanted us to be aggressive, high press. Now, I would imagine that's going to still be the same at Hearts, and he still had that at Aberdeen as well, and Stuart Findlay brought that to the Kilmarnock backline. I can understand why he wants to bring Stuart Findlay to Hearts. He is one of his biggest qualities is his recovery pace, and I spoke to someone who has covered Kilmarnock for a few years, and he was telling me he spoke to Bruce Anderson, the Kelly striker, and Bruce Anderson talked about how much he hated playing against Findlay because of that recovery pace, where I actually think it's quite a rare quality in Scottish football to have a centre-back with such pace, and he's good on the turn as well, which makes a massive difference. Now he's 29. When put the story out yesterday, there's been like some replies about kind of like the sell-on value. Not all players that Hearts are going to sign are going to have a sell-on value, and again, it's something that McInnes talked about when he first came in. Something he talked about with the board is that not every player can be a project, can be a kind of project player where you're looking to bring them in and player trade them. There has to be continuity, there has to be constants within the squad. There's have to be guys who know what it takes to perform in Scottish football, and guys who can come in and hit the ground running. Stuart Findlay ticks all of those boxes. And while I wouldn't be surprised if it's because of the nature of his contract with Oxford, he's got 1 year left. They're a championship side. I think it's a pretty lucrative deal. Wouldn't be surprised if he comes on loan and then potentially signs a permanent deal once that goes once that's finalises. Or Hearts may well pay what would likely be a 6-figure fee. But you can see, as long as McInnes is here, you can see that Findlay could be one of those bedrocks in the back line, and one of the options that Hearts will carry going forward. Of course, Findlay coming in means, I think I've counted up rightly, I hope I did, that it takes Hearts centre-back options to 9 next season. Now, there's maybe 7 of those are actual centre-backs. So, again, off the top of my head, you would have Stuart Findlay, Craig Halkett, Michael Steinbender, Frankie Kent, Jamie McCart, Stephen Kingsley, and Lewis Nielsen. So there's 7, and then Harry Milne and Oisin McEntee can also fill in as centre back. So you've got kind of like nine options there. It's kind of not kind of process of elimination, but you just look at the squad. These Braga and Findlay coming in takes your squad to 31, and that's excluded Lauren Shankland, whose obviously contract expires. 31 is a lot of players, and carrying 9 guys who can play centre back is a lot of players. So you do the math. Players are going to move on, and going by like the signs of Hearts made, believe that they'll be confident that they can move players on, because it's something that Graham Jones talked about, is that there has to be a balance within that squad. There has to be a balance in terms of numbers. There has to be a balance in terms of profile and players being able to, and depth, players being able to cover positions. So the good thing is Hearts have been pretty active so far, and they don't come back to pre-season until the 20th. So there's still plenty of time to do more business, which they will, and also move players on, because again, players who might not be seen as regulars will want to play regular football, so they'll look to move on, and the transfer window doesn't open until the 16th of June as well. So there's plenty of work still to be done in terms of firming down what will be the squad going forward. Just the last thing on Stuart Findlay, just one thing is he brings loads of experience and a lot of leadership as well. Don't think he wore the captain's armband too much at Kelly, maybe only a few times, but he was essentially a captain without an armband. As for more recent news, as in when I say more recent, Tuesday, Islam Chesnokov, he spoke in the press in his homeland in Kazakhstan. I think it would have been just after they lost 1-0 to Macedonia in the World Cup qualifier. He started yesterday, it was a game yesterday, having had a good start to the season in Kazakhstan. He scored 4 goals in 10 games in the Premier League, including 2 in his last 2. He basically given updates. His update was there was nothing to update. Once if it gets done, then that will be confirmed. It's one that's certainly he'd put into the transfer saga category. I think it's just one of those which has been it's just been a complex deal to do. Going back to January when Hearts had interest in him, and then to now, just because of the way the seasons work, we've seen it with the signings of like Steinwender and Khartoum, and then Braga. This season, he's only recently started his season in Norwegian second tier, and then like Chesnokov is that their deals work differently. Their deals off the end of the year. So there's obviously the fact that Hearts could bring him in pre-contract, but they want to obviously bring him in this window. So we'll see with that one. But obviously, it's quite clear that Hearts want to add more wingers to their squad. Kiridis is the first one in, but I would imagine at least a couple more will be in. And then finally, Kenneth Vargas. He was a piece that's just gone up this afternoon on Hearts Standard. He was speaking in his homeland while on international duty. Costa Rica played Trinidad and Tobago this evening, or the very early hours of Wednesday morning, I think. They recently beat the Bahamas 8-0. Don't think Vargas was involved, but I think he spoke in the press, the mixed zone press bit afterwards, and revealed he had positive talks with McInnes. He spoke over the phone with him, and he'd been told that he is seen as he is part of the plans. For me, I was happy to read that, I'm encouraged by that. I'd be reluctant to discard with him after one pure season. I know it was a really frustrating season all round. Naive comments earlier on in the season, and a couple of big missed chances. I just didn't really get going for him after the expectation and the hope that he would kick on and become this really important forward player who would again take that goal scoring pressure off Shankland. It's never really quite happened, but it's clear that we've seen from his first season flashes of last season. He's got talent, he's got potential, he gets into good scoring opportunities. It's that kind of final product that needs to be worked on, but he's still young, he's still got 4 years on his deal, he's shown talent and potential. I just think he needs a bit of direction, a bit of belief, a bit of backing. It was a tumultuous season at Hearts last season, something that Craig wrote in the pieces, that there was kind of 4 different managerial periods with Naismith and Fox, the criticism of Fox. So I do think that going forward, for the players that remain as part of the squad coming into this season, coming into pre-season, I think everyone should have a clean slate, working under the new manager. And you do look at Vargas, he's versatile, he's quick. We've seen it. His first season, he scored 9 goals, and I do think he can not only get back to that, he can get better than that. So yeah, encouraged by him potentially being part of the plans next season. Now there we go. I said it was going to be quick, and sometimes I'm guilty of rambling on far too much, but I'll stop it there. Just a quick wee update, and we'll be back for likely longer episodes later this week. Might be back tomorrow with Craig. Depends what comes up, and then there will be the 2 shows I mentioned later on at the end of the week with Tom and with hopefully Mark and Scott. Be sure to check out heartstandard.co.uk for all the latest from all the latest to do with Hearts. Any questions you have, I know I appreciate I've not done this live, but any questions you've got, please put them in the YouTube description, the YouTube comments, or message me on social media, and Craig and I will try to answer them, whether it's through an article or through a YouTube video. We do read the comments, so be sure to fire in any questions you have in there, or feedback, or anything that you like. If it's criticism or abuse, then I'll ignore it. Criticism, I'll see if it doesn't hurt my feelings, and we'll take on board. But we will be back later on in the week, and thank you very much, and goodbye.